Welcome back to the Product Marketing Alliance channel. Pricing is an increasingly important element of the product marketing role, and it represents an opportunity for PMMs to really step up and own an activity that has a massive impact on the business and your customers. In fact, no lever has a bigger impact on profitability than pricing, so it's a function every product marketer should be keen to get their hands on. But where do you begin? It all starts with nailing down a pricing strategy that helps the business to price its product or service in a way that optimizes sales, volume, and market share. A well thought out pricing strategy allows businesses to maximize profit margins while simultaneously taking into account the buyer and key trends within the market. There's a range of pricing strategies to choose from, and they differ depending on the nature of the company, the product, and the market. To help you settle on the right pricing strategy for your circumstances, in this video we're going to run through the 5 most common pricing strategies. We'll look at what they are, how they work, their advantages and their disadvantages. So let's dive right in. The first pricing strategy to consider is competitor-based pricing. As you might expect, organizations that use competitive pricing strategies start by checking out the pricing structures at rival companies that offer similar products or services, and they use that as a basis to set their own pricing. This is a popular strategy for businesses that operate in highly competitive markets, where the slightest price difference can sway a customer's decision one way or the other. Competitive-based pricing is a dynamic strategy. It allows businesses to be proactive in responding to changes in the market, as well as to the rise of new potential competitors. One of the primary advantages of a competitive approach to pricing is its simplicity. You don't need any complex formulas or internal stakeholder discussions. Instead, to determine your product's selling price, all that's required is an analysis of your competitors. Competitive-based pricing also gives you a degree of certainty. After all, if your customers are willing to spend $100 for your competitor's solution, then why wouldn't they be willing to fork out the same amount for your product or service? But there are also disadvantages. When you're operating within a competitor-based model, you don't have a bespoke pricing strategy of your own. You're more or less copying someone else's, in which case you're not differentiating yourself, nor are you considering the costs. In this sense, competitive-based pricing puts your destiny in the hands of your competitors. A pricing strategy that does give you more control is called cost-plus pricing. The cost-plus pricing model involves adding a percentage of the profit, aka the markup, to your total cost to generate a selling price. For example, if the total cost of a pair of sneakers added up to $60 and the company wanted to make a 30% profit on each pair, the selling price will come to $78, including an $18 profit. This model is commonly applied to more physical products because the material costs can be easily identified. Adopting such a model is trickier in a SaaS business. The main advantage of cost-plus pricing is that it's simple to understand and straightforward to implement. It also provides a consistent rate of return thanks to the addition of a markup percentage. Be careful though, cost-plus pricing does have some drawbacks, the main one being that it doesn't take your competitors and the wider market landscape into account. Related to this, you run the risk of ignoring the customer's perception of your product's value and what they're willing to spend as a result. The model is very company-centric, so even if it's technically beneficial for your bottom line, it can create obstacles for sales if they aren't able to justify the price. Seasoned practitioners will tell you that cost-plus pricing can often lead to lots of discounts. Value-based pricing is a customer-focused method where you set your price based on the customer's perceived value of your product. So in practice, your selling price is based on your understanding of what your customer thinks your product is worth. Value-based pricing is commonly used for unique or high-end products or in scenarios where there's inelastic demand. In other words, where price doesn't significantly impact demand because there's such a need out there in the market for your product. When done well, value-based pricing gets to the bottom of what your customers are willing to pay with more accuracy. Sure, you could argue that competitor-based pricing does this as well, but value-based pricing puts your potential customers at the heart of the journey. A word of caution though. Value-based pricing strategies are difficult to get right. Even with extensive research, it can be difficult to definitively determine the perceived value of your product. Our fourth pricing strategy is known as penetration pricing, and it has one simple objective: to gain market share with a new product by undercutting the competition on price. This is an aggressive pricing model that's used to disrupt the market and lure customers away from the competition. It can be extremely effective in giving a new entrant a foothold in the market, but you need to be prepared to absorb some losses early on. Often, penetration pricing strategies involve selling a product below market value. This might work in the short term as you acquire new customers and build brand loyalty, but it won't work forever. Eventually, you'll need to raise prices to ensure profitability, so make sure you plan for this well in advance. Penetration pricing is only suitable for products that are price elastic. In other words, market demand must be heavily influenced by price in order for this to work. And since it's only a short-term pricing model, it's vital that you have a solid plan in place to raise prices without tarnishing your brand and alienating customers. While some companies adopt the penetration strategy and price their products at a lower price, others choose to take the opposite approach and engage in what's called price skimming. Put simply, the price skimming model involves beginning with the highest initial price customers are willing to pay before lowering the cost over time. It's called price skimming because you're essentially skimming layers of customers. With every incremental price reduction, you attract a new customer segment, gradually expanding your market share. Price skimming works best for new, unique, or particularly innovative products that have little to no competition. Once the early adopter market has become saturated and sales start to decline, you can then reduce the price to target a wider market, having already maximized your profitability in the first stage. For a price skimming strategy to work, you need to be sure that there are enough early adopters out there who will be willing to purchase at the premium price point. The success of a price skimming strategy is also dependent on excellent messaging and positioning. You must be able to demonstrate your product's unique value and stimulate sufficient demand at the higher price point. And this is easier said than done. So there you have it, the 5 most common pricing strategies every product marketer needs to be aware of. If you want to know more about these pricing strategies or you want to learn about pricing in general, just leave a comment below. Thanks for watching and see you next time.